Hello, welcome to the Point and Quest podcast. I'm Lindsay, and before we take a bite out of today's game, I wanted to give a quick content warning. This episode contains descriptions of violence, cannibalism, and some light body horror. Nothing too graphic, but the themes lean dark. So, if that's not something you're in the mood for, please feel free to skip this one. Take care of yourself first. For those of you still here, the kitchen is open. I've took an unintentional hiatus, but I'm coming back with something short, spooky, and perfect for the season. The Supper is a free game by Octavi Navarro. Yes, free. It's available on Steam and itch.io. Takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play. Has no real voice acting except for a few grumbles here and there. No choices, dialogue trees, no fancy graphics, just beautiful pixel art, vibes, and vengeance. Navarro's been working in the indie point-and-click space for a while now. He's one of those rare indie game devs who can do more with a couple of pixels than some studios can do with the entire mocap team. He worked on Thimbleweed Park, and his solo games like Midnight Scenes are short, polished, and emotionally sharp. So if his name's on something, I'm playing it, no questions asked. The game opens on a crumbling seaside tavern. Stormy skies, salt in the air. You play as Miss Appleton, a small, stiff, silent woman with 2 wooden stilted legs and a 1,000-yard stare. This isn't Hell's Kitchen. This is something older, stranger, haunting, and harrowing. What I love about The Supper is that it feels like a spooky story, but not a loud one. There are no jump scares, no chase sequences, just quiet dread, cozy cannibalism. 2 words I never thought I'd be saying in the same breath. A little murder with your melancholy. It's like if Hocus Pocus and Sweeney Todd had a pixel art baby, it might look like this. 3 men walk into a bar. But this isn't a joke. It's a point-and-click pixel feast where revenge is served warm, salty, and stewing in something sinister. The tavern's lights flicker like the last embers of hope. The walls sweat with secrets. And at the heart of it all is a woman, Miss Appleton. She limps through the kitchen, her stilted peg legs knocking against the wood like a metronome counting down someone else's time. A voice whispers in her head. Has it always been there? A parasite? A ghost? A memory? Today the voice tells her it's time. Time to prepare. Time to cook. You stand in a kitchen. A massive cauldron of blood-red sauce simmers. Above it, a menu scrawled on parchment lists delicacies like hand and tongue stew, pigeon a la sauce rosé. Miss Appleton shuffles out of the kitchen, lights the chandelier in the dining room. The lights flicker on. The guests arrive. And they are grotesque. One creature is no more than a patched-eyed skull with a squid clenched onto his cranium and a hook for an arm. The other, a shark the color of a corpse, scarred, mouth hanging open with sharp yellow teeth. And the third is actually pretty cute. He looks like one of those little Campbell soup kids. Little chibi eyes, blush, a mustache, and gills. Still, each of them awful in their own way. You serve them dinner. You prepare each course by sourcing ingredients locally. Very locally. One recipe calls for a wild pigeon. Luckily, there's one perched smugly above the tavern sign, like a feathery garnish. But Miss Appleton's not exactly nimble, so you head along the dock to find the fisherman. Clicking his rod reels in a soggy old boot. Gross, but perfect. Of course, you toss the boot at the pigeon, whispering apologies. Back in the kitchen, you've bathed the bird in special sauce. A thick, bubbling concoction that likely contains more sin than seasoning. You deliver the plate to the guild man. He eats. He dies. No one notices. Call it poetic justice or poultry-based execution. Either way, he drops a pair of rusted scissors. You pocket them. And the kitchen's just warming up. The next guest is the squid skull. His palate, spicy. So, you grab a knife, found in the captain's cabin of the ship moored nearby, and slice the tail from a hanging swordfish suspended like an omen on the wall. The tail flops down with a wet slap, Gods only know how long that's been up there. But we're not done. Down in the ship's hold, a tiny seedling begs for water, a rare moment of life in this grim world. You fill your jug from a puddle and nourish the plant, and, as per adventure game rules, it blooms instantly, yielding one lone, gleaming chili pepper, crimson and furious. You stir it into the swordfish, douse the whole thing in a special sauce, and serve. He eats, he dies. But not before dropping a set of jailer's keys. You claim them. You also claim his tongue, which lolls out after death. The last dish on the menu is a showstopper, a plump human hand and a slimy tongue. With the keys from your last customer, you unlock the prison cell just outside the tavern and retrieve a bony, dismembered hand. Grim work, but someone's got to do it. Back in the kitchen, you dip the skeletal hand in a bubbling vat of wax, giving it that fresh, just plucked from the living appearance. Then you fuse it with the dripping tongue, coat it in the special sauce, and serve it to the deadly shark. He eats, he dies. Surely you'd already guessed that. With your guests eternally satisfied, you roll out the cart. One by one, you load their bodies in, like dirty dishes at the end of a shift. But don't fret, their bodies don't go to waste. Ah, the guests are dead. Each dish was laced with poison. But that's not the story. The story is why. Because, you see, these men, these very specific, very doomed men, did something terrible. Years ago, they accused someone very close to Miss Appleton, of stealing from them a single gold nugget. No trial, no mercy. They killed him. But that wasn't all. They took Miss Appleton's legs. Her partner, her friend, her love, it's not totally clear, but he was the one they murdered, and then they dragged his body around in a trunk for years like a trophy. The very trunk you, the player, have seen throughout the tavern. Locked, silent, waiting. Until now. With all three men dead, Miss Appleton opens the chest. Inside is her partner, lifeless, preserved, but somehow present. When the last plate is cleared and the final course is served, the tavern changes. No more blood on the walls, no more bile-colored light, just a cozy, quiet tavern, warm, a flash of the past, and a voice no longer urging her onward, but thanking her. Her revenge is complete. Her service is done. The Supper is a 20-minute tale with a ton of emotional payoff. In just a handful of clicks, it says more than most games do in hours. Miss Appleton is part chef, part executioner, part ghost of herself, and in the end, she feeds the people who stole everything from her, and then feeds them to the darkness. It's macabre. It's beautiful. It's a little bit Hannibal, a little bit fairy tale, and a lot of heart. If you like this episode of the Point & Quest podcast, share the game with a horror-loving friend. And maybe light a candle for Miss Appleton. Just don't ask her what's for dinner.